Welcome back to my channel. If you thought Arkansas was all natural beauty and southern hospitality, you're about to discover its darkest secrets. Today, we're diving into the 3 most terrifying haunted locations in the natural state. Places where the dead refuse to rest, where history's darkest moments have left permanent scars, and where visitors leave questioning everything they thought they knew about the afterlife. I'm talking about phantom nurses pushing gurneys through abandoned hospital wings, a woman who poisoned herself for love and now eternally wanders her childhood home, and the spirits of 79 men who met their end on the gallows, still seeking justice in the halls where they were condemned. Before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming. The Crescent Hotel, America's most haunted hotel. Perched high on the mountaintops of Eureka Springs stands a Victorian masterpiece that has earned a reputation known worldwide. Built in 1886, the Crescent Hotel is officially recognized as America's most haunted hotel. But this isn't just another ghost story. This is a place where the dead outnumber the living, where cancer patients came seeking miracle cures and found only death, and where their tortured souls still wander the halls over 80 years later. When the Crescent Hotel first opened its doors in 1886, it was the crown jewel of luxury, the most opulent establishment west of the Mississippi River. Wealthy guests traveled from across the country to experience its grandeur and to partake in the healing waters of Eureka Springs' famous mineral springs. But the hotel's fortunes changed. By 1908, it had been converted into the Crescent College and Conservatory for young women. Female students filled the halls, and even then, something wasn't right. One student requested her family mail her Ouija board to the school. Why? Because even back then, the young women believed they were making contact with spirits in the building. But nothing could prepare the Crescent for what came next. In 1937, a charlatan named Norman Baker purchased the hotel. This man, who had 0 medical training, transformed the beautiful Victorian resort into the Baker Cancer Hospital. He claimed to have discovered a miracle cure for cancer. Desperate patients and their families arrived with their life savings, hoping for a miracle. What they found was a nightmare. Baker's cure was nothing but colored water and false hope. As patients deteriorated and died, Baker continued to drain their bank accounts. He stored body parts and tumors in jars. He operated an autopsy table in the basement. He kept corpses in a walk-in freezer. And when patients died, which they did frequently, their bodies were disposed of in a secret morgue that wouldn't be discovered for decades. Here's what makes the Crescent Hotel absolutely terrifying. This isn't residual energy. These spirits are active. They interact with guests. They move objects. They touch people. Room 218 is the most requested and most haunted room in the entire hotel. During the hotel's construction in the 1880s, an Irish stonemason named Michael fell from what is now room 218 to his death. He's classified as a poltergeist because of the nature of his activity. Guests report hands emerging from the bathroom mirror. They hear the blood-curdling screams of a man falling through the ceiling. Doors open and slam shut on their own, and once they slam, they cannot be opened again. People have fled this room in the middle of the night, refusing to ever return. On the 3rd floor, a nurse from Baker's Cancer Hospital days still makes her rounds. Multiple witnesses have seen her pushing a gurney down the hallway, dressed in a 1930s-era uniform. When approached, she vanishes into thin air. But the wheels of the gurney can still be heard squeaking down the empty corridor. A woman named Theodora, believed to be one of Baker's cancer patients, appears throughout the hotel. She's described as wearing Victorian-era clothing and radiates an overwhelming sadness. She's been seen in multiple rooms, always seeming to search for something she'll never find. But the most active location is the basement morgue. When archaeologists discovered Norman Baker's secret bottle grave in 2019, containing jars of his fake cancer cures and human specimens, paranormal activity in the morgue increased dramatically. Staff report that since the bottles were put on display, the morgue has become almost unbearable to enter alone. Equipment malfunctions. Batteries drain instantly. People feel unseen hands touching them. The sound of gurneys rolling can be heard when no one else is present. And visitors report the overwhelming sensation of being watched by dozens of tortured souls. This isn't folklore. It's documented. The hotel hosts annual paranormal weekends that have to be split across multiple weekends because demand is so high. 12 different paranormal investigation teams have studied the property. It's appeared on 8 different paranormal television shows. Investigators have recorded voices saying, "Help me," in the morgue. They've captured the sound of a gavel banging 3 times in areas where no judge's bench exists. Photographs reveal full-body apparitions in mirrors and windows. Electronic voice phenomena captured during investigations have documented conversations between spirits. Professional ghost tour guides who work there nightly report that they've never had a tour where nothing happened. Every single night, something paranormal occurs. The Crescent Hotel doesn't just claim to be America's most haunted hotel. It proves it, night after night, to anyone brave enough to spend the darkness within its walls. Where cancer patients came to be cured but found only death, where a Mason fell to his eternal rest, and where Norman Baker's greed created a legacy of suffering that refuses to fade. This Victorian beauty holds more darkness than any building should ever contain. The Allen House, where love died. In the quiet town of Monticello stands a Queen and Victorian mansion that locals whisper about. Built in 1906 as a showpiece of wealth and prosperity, the Allen House has become known as one of the most haunted private residences in America. This is the story of forbidden love, devastating betrayal, and a woman who chose death over heartbreak, and whose spirit has never left the scene of her final moments. Joe Lee Allen was a successful businessman who built this Gothic-style mansion to showcase his prosperity. With massive porch columns and multi-storied turrets, it was designed to be Monticello's crown jewel. Joe, his wife Caddy, and their 3 daughters, including Liddell, moved into the family home, and for years, life seemed perfect. Liddell was born in 1894 and lived a privileged life. She married Boyd Bonner in 1914 and had a son named Elliot. But by 1927, the marriage crumbled, and Liddell was granted a divorce. Her ex-husband died in 1948. That same year, on Christmas Day, something happened that would change the Allen house forever. Liddell, 54 years old, consumed mercury cyanide in the master bedroom. She was rushed to Mack Wilson Hospital, where she suffered for 8 agonizing days before dying on January 3, 1949. Her death certificate read, "Suicide by mercury cyanide poisoning." But why? Why would a woman from a prominent family take her own life on Christmas Day? The answer remained hidden for decades. After Liddell's death, her mother Caddy sealed the master bedroom. For nearly 40 years, that room remained locked and untouched, a shrine to her daughter's memory and final moments. When new owners finally opened that sealed room in the 1980s, they made a chilling discovery. A bottle of mercury cyanide still sat on a closet shelf, exactly where Liddell had left it. But the most heartbreaking discovery came much later. The current owners, Mark and Rebecca Spencer, found 90 hidden letters in the attic, crammed beneath the floorboard. These letters revealed Liddell's secret. She had been having a passionate affair with a married man. When she discovered he would never leave his wife, her world shattered. The letters paint a picture of a woman deeply in love, desperately hopeful, and ultimately betrayed. On Christmas Day, 1948, with a bottle of rum beside her, Liddell made her final choice. What makes the Allen house uniquely terrifying is the intensity of Liddell's presence. This isn't a faint residual haunting. Liddell is actively there, and her anguish fills every room. Shortly after the Allen house was converted into apartments, tenants began seeing a woman standing in the window of the sealed bedroom, the room that had been locked for 40 years. She would stand there, looking out onto Main Street, visible from outside but impossible from within because no one could access that room. Guests described seeing a transparent woman in 1940s-era clothing wandering the upstairs bedrooms. She appears most frequently in the room where she died. Multiple guests have woken to find her standing beside their bed, her form glowing with an ethereal light. She never speaks, but the overwhelming sadness that radiates from her is almost unbearable. She radiates despair so intense that witnesses often break down crying without understanding why. One of the most disturbing phenomena, Liddell's reflection appears in mirrors throughout the house, even when no one is standing in front of them. A doctor who lived in the house was a total skeptic, until he developed photographs he'd taken and discovered Liddell's face clearly visible in a mirror in one of his photos. He never explained what he saw. The second-floor bedroom where Liddell died is the most active location. Guests report feeling someone sit on the bed beside them, the mattress physically depressing. Temperature drops of 20 to 30 degrees in seconds, breath visible even in summer. Electronics completely draining within minutes. Cameras, phones, everything. The phantom smell of roses filling the room. Hearing moans and whispers in the darkness. The bathroom adjacent to Liddell's bedroom is equally active. Water faucets turn on by themselves. Toiletries move across counters. And visitors report feeling an unseen presence standing behind them in the mirror. The Allen house has been investigated by 12 different paranormal organizations and appeared on 8 television shows. During investigations, EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, have been captured. Equipment failures are constant, and investigators report experiences so intense that one investigation had to be called off after a tree branch inexplicably fell, damaging their equipment. The Allen house stands as a monument to heartbreak, where a woman's forbidden love drove her to the ultimate despair, where a mother's grief sealed away the scene of tragedy, and where Liddell Allen still searches endlessly for the love that destroyed her. She chose death over living without him, and death chose to keep her forever. Fort Smith Courthouse, the hanging judge's domain. In Fort Smith, Arkansas, stands a courthouse that was once the gateway between civilization and the lawless Wild West. This is where justice met brutality, where one man's interpretation of the law sent 160 souls to the gallows, where 79 men and women took their final breaths at the end of a rope. This is the domain of Isaac C. Parker, the infamous hanging judge, and this is where those he condemned still walk. In 1875, Indian Territory, what we now call Oklahoma, was the most lawless land in America. Cattle thieves, horse thieves, whiskey peddlers, murderers, and bandits ran wild, believing they were beyond the reach of the white man's court. The only court with jurisdiction over the 74,000 square mile territory was the U.S. Court for the Western District of Arkansas in Fort Smith. And on May 4, 1875, a man named Isaac C. Parker arrived to take his position as federal judge. Parker was replacing Judge William Story, whose tenure had been marred by corruption. The territory needed order. It needed justice. What it got was something far more severe. On September 3, 1875, just 4 months after Parker's arrival, 6 men were hanged simultaneously. The Fort Smith Independence headline screamed, "Execution Day! Cool destruction of 6 human lives by legal process." They were lined up on the gallows just outside Parker's courtroom. Death warrants were read. Final words were spoken. Then George Malden, the Prince of Hangmen, adjusted the nooses around their necks. The trapdoor opened. All 6 died at once. News of this mass execution shocked the nation. Parker became known as the Hanging Judge, and his court was dubbed the Court of the Damned. During his 21 years on the federal bench, Judge Parker presided over 13,490 cases. He sentenced 160 people to death by hanging. Of those, 79 were actually executed on the gallows that stood just outside his courtroom window, a grim reminder visible from his desk. The courthouse basement, known as Hell on the Border Jail, held inmates in horrific conditions as they awaited trial or execution. Prisoners were beaten, tortured, and some died from the brutal treatment of guards before they ever reached the gallows. George Malden became famous for his work. After retiring, he toured with a tent show, displaying his most famous nooses like trophies. But it was the men who died on those ropes who would have the last word. What makes the Fort Smith Courthouse absolutely chilling is the residual energy of 79 executions. This is where men and women spent their final moments before walking to the gallows. This is where they waited, knowing death was coming. And that terror has soaked into every brick. Parker's original courtroom has been reconstructed at the Fort Smith National Historic Site. His original desk remains, its top battered from countless gavel strikes. A former museum employee reported being alone in the courtroom, about to turn off the lights, when she heard voices behind her growing louder and louder. When she turned around, no one was there, but the voices continued, overlapping in an unintelligible chorus of the condemned. Paranormal investigators placed audio recorders near Parker's original furniture. During playback, they heard 3 distinct bangs, like a gavel striking wood, recorded when no one was in the room. The reconstructed gallows are the site of the most disturbing phenomena. Visitors report seeing the ropes swinging when there's absolutely no wind. The ropes move in patterns, as if bodies were hanging from them, swaying in their death throes. On execution anniversaries, the gallows beam is hung with the exact number of nooses used on that date. September 3rd and January 16th each display 6 nooses. The days Parker hanged 6 people at once. The most frequently reported spirit isn't one of the victims. It's Judge Parker himself. Multiple witnesses claim to have seen his apparition in the courthouse, dressed in his judicial robes, seeming to still preside over the court he once commanded. A groundskeeper at Fort Smith National Cemetery, where Parker is buried, reported a terrifying experience in December 1998. At dusk, while retrieving tools, he encountered something that left him shaken to the core. Though the specific encounter isn't detailed, locals whisper that Parker's spirit refuses to rest, perhaps troubled by the weight of the 79 lives he sent to their deaths. In the Hell on the Border Jail, where prisoners suffered in horrific conditions, visitors report hearing chains rattling when the jail is empty, feeling unseen hands grabbing at them, experiencing sudden, overwhelming dread, seeing shadow figures moving between cells, electronic equipment malfunctioning constantly. The Fort Smith National Historic Site has been investigated countless times. EVPs captured in the courtroom include voices pleading for mercy and the sound of a gavel banging. In the jail cells, investigators have recorded chains moving and footsteps when no one else is present. Photographs taken at the gallows show unexplained mists and shadow figures near the ropes. The Fort Smith Courthouse stands as a monument to frontier justice, where the law was absolute and mercy was rare, where 79 souls took their final breaths on the gallows, and where the weight of all that death has created one of Arkansas's most haunted locations. Justice may have been served, but the condemned have never left. So there you have it, the 3 most terrifying haunted places in Arkansas. From the cancer patients who died seeking miracle cures at the Crescent Hotel, to Liddell Allen's heartbroken spirit eternally wandering her childhood home, to the 79 souls who met their end on Judge Parker's gallows. These aren't just stories. These are real places where real tragedies occurred, where the boundary between the living and the dead has grown impossibly thin, where visitors leave changed, questioning everything they thought they knew about what happens after we die. Now I want to hear from you. Which location terrified you the most? Would you dare spend the night at the Crescent Hotel? Walk the halls of the Allen House? Stand on the gallows at Fort Smith? Drop your answers in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Arkansas's darkest secrets, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more haunted content. And remember, some places are haunted for a reason. Some doors, once opened, can never be closed again. Some spirits will never rest. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and maybe, just maybe, leave the lights on tonight.